Well, from cars to planes, under a new TSA rule, passengers will start paying more for TSA security as soon as next month. And you know what that means, more fees tacked onto your airline ticket. So will these added fees ever end? And joining me now to explain, travel expert Mark Murphy. So what in the heck are they proposing here? What do they want to do, and how are they going to get into my pocket again?
Well, at the end of the year, last year, Congress passed this, so they were going to take the fees up from $2.50 for a nonstop flight or $5 for a connection to $5.60 per segment. And so that's already passed and it's going to get instituted. The hubbub right now is they want to change the definition of a connecting flight. So now with a connecting flight, they can hit you twice as long as there's a 4-hour layover when you're traveling. Then it becomes really two separate flights, and now you're paying $11.20. And if you start looking at multiple flights over the course of a week or a few days for a traveler, it could be 4 times what the fee would have been under the old rules.
Well, I got to tell you, Mark, this whole show has been about higher taxes practically tonight.
Exactly.
We just keep talking about it. We were talking about the gas tax, federal gas tax at the top of the show. But this is different to me because this is almost like taxation without representation. How can they get away with just boosting fees?
Well, you know what really stinks? The travel industry gets unduly harmed by taxes, which means the economy gets harmed because of taxes, because the people that are getting taxed are coming from outside areas. So, for instance, if somebody from Texas goes to New York and stays in a New York City hotel, they're going to pay an additional 20+% in taxes, hotel taxes, that the local people there, the local politicians, and the taxing authorities put into place. Now, there's no representation. There's nothing they can do. They can't vote those people out. And so travelers are an easy target. And I think what Congress and politicians have to understand is the economic engine of this country and very much the world is driven by the travel industry. Air travel, the way things get from point A to point B, transportation of all sorts of kinds impacts restaurants, taxis, and tons of, let's say, billions of additional tax revenues that are generated. So, you know, they're bending over to pick up the pennies and penalizing the industry when billions of dollars are being impacted, jobs are being impacted,
right,
and therefore much higher tax revenues.
Well,
so
you're saying bending over to pick up the pennies, and when people see numbers like $2.50 and $5, folks are going to say, "Oh, Gerri, it's not that much. You should be happy to pay for it." But look at this. So the proposed fees, these proposed fees alone would generate almost $17 billion.
Yes.
Now, why do we need to pay that? What are we going to get for that money?
Well, they're saying that they're going to continue to protect us as we fly, and therefore they need it. But when you actually look at the number of flyers, and you actually reflect that against the TSA budgets, and you think forget about keeping up with airline growth, it has far outpaced it. It's kind of like when somebody says, I'm trying to keep up with inflation, yet they're raising costs 20% a year. It's way out of whack with what, in my opinion, needs to happen. Most private sector companies try to find efficiencies. Why is it always about raising taxes to close the deficit? When are we going to hear from our government officials that they're going to cut costs in order to close the deficit? What a concept.
It never happens that way, Mark. I've noticed that myself.
It's crazy. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.